Rick Tyler is with the pro-Gingrich Winning Our Future Super PAC. He was an aide to the former House Speaker. Congratulations on your second-place finish tonight. I have to ask you if being characterized as a distant second-place finisher tonight is a disappointment to you, Mr. Tyler.
Well, it is a disappointment. I think it's a disappointment for Newt Gingrich, and I also think it's a disappointment for Republicans in general. Remember, as you noted, only 0.01% of the advertising was positive about Mitt Romney. All the rest of it was negative against Newt Gingrich. That was over 13,000 ads. So we didn't hear from Mitt Romney tonight how he's going to balance the budget. We didn't hear in this campaign how he's going to restore prosperity. We didn't hear how he's going to create jobs. We didn't hear any of these things. All we heard was how Newt Gingrich was a bad guy. So I don't think that's one hell of a way to run a primary. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, we also heard a lot from Newt Gingrich about what a bad guy Mitt Romney is, describing him as the campaign, at least describing him as despicable, as not just a moderate, which he was described as in South Carolina, but now a liberal. What did Mitt Romney do between South Carolina and Florida to go from being characterized by you as a Massachusetts moderate in South Carolina to now you're calling him a Massachusetts liberal?
Well, I think his record is liberal in Massachusetts. I mean, he enforced the strictest gun laws in Massachusetts. He upheld a woman's right to choose to the point where a judge could overrule parents about a child, a minor getting an abortion. He raised taxes, and he got Romney Care, which is indistinguishable from Obamacare. I would characterize it as liberal. You may take issue with it, but I think it's liberal.
Mr. Snyder, is there your candidate, Newt Gingrich, has said he's going all the way to the convention. Is there any scenario you can see where your candidate and your supporters would say, let's support Mr. Romney, and at the convention, if Romney's the nominee, is there any way you can say, let's bring the party together? We were just joking. We don't really think that he's the bad guy that we've been saying, and it's really all right that he's done all of the things that we've been advertising that he's done.
Well, I think Newt Gingrich has a tremendous track record of supporting Republicans. He's done that virtually his entire career. And I think if Mitt Romney were to become the nominee, I'm sure that Newt Gingrich would support him as president because he is better. He would even then still be better than the alternative.
Hey, Rick, it's Lawrence O'Donnell. I want to ask a follow-up question, and it's a follow-up question to your 3 p.m. interview today with Martin Bashir on this network, which I was glued to as you were in that engagement. Martin asked you, he asked you about the money going into the super PAC that you're running, the $5 million contribution followed by another $5 million contribution from the Adelson family. And Martin said to you, who negotiated the deal for the $5, then $10 million? And your answer was, I'm not going to comment on it. You want to try that again? I just want to ask you that same question again. Who negotiates the deals with the Adelsons for the $5 million checks that fund what you're doing every day?
Well, the leader of our PAC is Becky Burkett, and I don't have the contact with the Adelsons. I'm grateful for all their support, but I don't deal with them directly. And that's what I was trying to say to Martin Bashir today.
Rick, let me ask you, we heard from Bill McCollum earlier in tonight's programming, a supporter of Mr. Gingrich, of course. He said that in almost these blunt terms, he said he wants Rick Santorum to get out of the race. He said after tonight, it's hard to see Rick Santorum going forward. Do you also think that Rick Santorum should drop out?
I think Rick obviously has to make that decision for himself. I do believe that Rick and Newt Gingrich are splitting a conservative vote, and if those votes were bound together, we would have a clear, distinct choice between what I call a conservative southern Georgia legislator, Newt Gingrich, against a Massachusetts, and I'll use moderate, Mitt Romney. And I think that would be a much clearer distinction. I think the mistake, actually, that was made here in Florida is we allowed ourselves to get Mitt Romney to drag us into the swamp. And I'm hopeful that we will head toward the high ground, and we will once again show Newt's record as a conservative record of achievement. That is when he was Speaker, balanced budgets, $405 billion of debt paid off, 11 million jobs created, NASDAQ up 180%, stock market up 130%. And we will pound away at that record of achievement, and we'll let Mitt Romney try to, make his case as a conservative. He doesn't have one, and I think that's where the race is going to break down to here on out.
Rick Tyler, probably the soft underbelly of Mitt Romney right now is the Bain brand. Polling shows that 40% of the people view that as unfavorable, his work at Bain. That's about the worst number he's got going up against Newt Gingrich. Calling him a moderate than a liberal, is that going to work versus continually pointing out his record when it comes to making more money off people who are being foreclosed? I mean, isn't that where your campaign has to go, to continue to chip away at the best number that's out there?
Well, we certainly made our best case about that. I mean, my contention wasn't a contention about capitalism or even the way Mitt Romney conducted himself at Bain under that. My contention was he said he created 100,000 new jobs, and I asked him to prove it, and so far to date he hadn't proved it. And disclosing that, we found some other activities where, Bain had raided pension funds, yet they made profits off the same companies they drove out of business. That was certainly true in South Carolina. We know that Damon was involved in Medicare fraud when Romney acquired the company, so he didn't do his due diligence, or he was complicit, and it was engaged in Medicare fraud right up until the subpoenas flew in August of 1993, ironically the same month that he sold the company for a profit. That company eventually went out of business, was fined $119 million, the largest healthcare fraud fine ever levied against the company at that time. And I've heard no reporter ask him that question. I've heard no answers about that question. But do we really want a candidate whose company, Damon, he was on the board, was engaged in Medicare fraud?
Rick Tyler with the pro-Gingrich Winning Our Future Super PAC. Thanks very much for being with us, Rick. We appreciate it.
Grateful.